Okay, guys, let's talk about the FTX situation and some of my thoughts. So, stuff is very suspicious, obviously, and a lot of other people have called this out. You know, a lot of the connections to Gary Gensler, whatever, the guy at the SEC. Seems like Scam Bankman's parents. They're legal professors, and they're interconnected with a lot of these people involved in the government. And you have the same thing with that Caroline that was the supposed CEO of that Alameda Research and all these kind of things. And I think what'll ultimately happen with all these people involved in this, and this is part of the reason why he just kind of chilled there, like in the Bahamas, and didn't go to a country where he couldn't be extradited from. It probably was said behind closed doors or in closed conversations before the thing even collapsed and before everybody's money got caught up in it, that just go there, it's going to fall apart, and then basically we're going to essentially plead ignorance or just kind of act like, well, I didn't know what this was happening, and this person was in charge of this, and this other person had this other issue that came up, and that's their fault, and well, I take the blame for this, but I just didn't know, and I'm young, and da-da-da-da-da, this whole thing. And it's going to be this ring around the rosy. It's going to be this hot potato thing. They're going to kind of pass around, and then ultimately, at the end of it, nobody's going to fall hard. Maybe, they'll give them kind of a slap on the wrist. Maybe just, try to maybe peg them with some community service or just kind of some kind of BS. It'll just kind of get like tied up in proceedings like for years and stuff like that. And I think it's more going to be, they're going to try to catch it up in these legal proceedings that are going to be more civil in nature and not criminal. And at the end of the day, I just think that that's already been set up. It's like Stan Bankman's parents, have foregone whatever, like the classes that they were going to be teaching this semester to go there to the Bahamas and stuff and be around him. And he's been taken into custody, and he's going to get extradited, all this kind of stuff. And it's going to be this roundabout thing and stuff. It's not really going to stick. And then they're going to use this once again to try to act like, well, there needs to be more regulations around crypto, and they're going to try to tighten the noose. And it's like, well, how are they going to do that? Or what are some of the things they're going to do for the next step? Now, this being said, just to kind of, especially if you're newer to crypto, because a lot of people just bring this up year after year after year. And if this is your first video or whatever that you've seen of me, I've been in crypto since 2013. I get this question a lot, are they going to outlaw Bitcoin? Are they going to outlaw crypto just in general and stuff like that? And there will be some countries that are going to attempt to do that. People aren't going to listen. It'd be like telling the Mexicans that you can't have guns. They're not going to tell these people they're not going to stop guns, people having firearms. They're not going to stop that. It would be like telling the American public, you can't have guns anymore. The stuff that worked in a place like Australia or these different places where they've tried to take people's firearms, that will not work here. Absolutely will not work. And same things for crypto. They're not going to sit there and say, well, you can't have crypto. You can, they're not going to, like I'm saying, if they did, it's not going to work. And they're not going to attempt it in that way, because think about it. They're able to, this is like a capital super collector. Crypto is. And so people from all over the world are essentially participating in this network and increasing the value of Bitcoin and Litecoin and Dogecoin and all that kind of stuff over time. And the US government is, by kind of, or all these governments are then able to tax it and become a benefactor of something that they did not create, and that they have not really kind of facilitated the environment for this to like flourish or grow or anything, but they're able to tap into it, through capital gains tax and these different tax laws and stuff like that. So they're not gonna outlaw, because then it becomes this thing that they're not able to tax and they're not able to collect on. So they're not going to go that route. It's just like, you see like cannabis laws and stuff are opening up in a lot of states, and it's like, well, they're able to generate this huge amount of tax revenue. So one by one, they fall like dominoes. People are like, yeah, that would be great. We'll get the tax revenue and stuff like that. And so weed becomes legal in these different states in the United States. If you're from a different country, that has been one of the things that, every voting cycle and stuff that's coming up, and more states are allowing the recreational use of cannabis. So same thing's going to happen with crypto. They can tax it and stuff like that. So they're not going to just throw away their ability to sort of tax it by virtue of, oh, well, it's illegal, you can't have this. They want to tap into that asset class tax-wise, both on a state and a federal level. So that being said, with the FTX situation, they will tighten the noose. They're going to use this to tighten the noose and declare more things as securities, and the SEC is going to, be stretching their paws into all these different situations and trying to do a fundraiser. It's like, well, and how much of the money, when the SEC sues these different companies, how much of that money goes back to the quote-unquote people that these different companies supposedly harmed? Basically none. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a joke. You're not protecting anybody. And actually, by creating this foundation that makes these exchanges more like banks and intertwined in the banking system, and make people do the KYC, which is a scam, because that in itself, it's, okay, now you've got this big honeypot out there of people's personal information, pictures of them and stuff like that. And as we go on, obviously that's an attack vector. Some might say that I shouldn't be making these videos because they'll be able to take my my face and and this and that, and if someone commandeered enough information about me or something like that, that is an attack vector that you could run the face through different electronic mechanisms and stuff, and basically create a fake, and somebody could try to steal my identity or these different things. This gimbal is not behaving. So that being said, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to do what they did to some of these other stuff like Cash App and Venmo, where it's like $600. Oh, you got $600 through Venmo or Cash App. Oh, we need to know about that. You need to get a 1099. Or if you got some kind of rewards, credit card points and stuff like that, or got an offer that was like, hey, $500 if you open up this new credit card and you run $3,000 through this credit card. Oh, okay, that's $500. Okay, now you got a 1099 miscellaneous. And so they try to get their paws in that, trying to get their paws in that. So I think what's going to happen with these crypto exchanges, instead of it being like $20,000 worth of trades, it's going to be more like a brokerage account where it's like, you do any amount of stuff, and then it's just like, okay, there's a 1099 associated to it. And then you have to like kind of depict your trades that are, well, this trade was this, and this was long-term capital gains, this was short-term capital gains, this and that. So they're going to tighten the noose on that. Is the easiest way, and they're going to try to force people once again to these centralized exchanges. They're going to force them to it and they've done this over time, to where it's harder and harder to go through these other mechanisms, or for people to operate these businesses without having like very, 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 very detailed records, whether that be Bitcoin ATM network, the Bitcoin ATM network, or that be like something like the local Bitcoins thing was, or this stuff like BISC or whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's like BISQ, or there was BitQuick, this kind of different stuff where it's, you're kind of going through this, this person, they're facilitating the transaction, maybe it goes straight to your bank account, or you get money deposited in your bank account through these banks. That's another thing, they're trying to tighten the noose. Very, very hard to get cash out of these banks. Try to force people to go cashless, make it harder and harder and harder and harder to actually get any sizable amount of money out of the banks. So that's going to be a kind of a continuing thing. At the end of the day, the FTX thing and any of these centralized exchanges, it certainly is something that, it becomes very, very tough. And the people that are outside of crypto that haven't been as long as myself, or maybe some of you, they sit there and associate it with crypto, like, well, yeah, it's a scam, or there's just all this stuff going on. And it just is kind of like, and I would say a little bit, I've obviously like done a lot of trading in the stock and option market, so
in a quarter mile, turn right onto East 141st Street.
It's one of those things that, like, when I saw the whole thing happening with GameStop, for instance, it's kind of this thing where it's like, well, how does this thing really have legs? At the point that it started to move, it was like, how viral could this go, or how much money are people gonna throw into this? And it was just very, very, very hard to sort of assess, if that was something that you should throw money at. And that's the way people
turn right onto East 141st Street.
Crypto in general, they're very, very tentative, and then usually they get bad information, they're following the wrong people, and then they get incinerated, or they see like friends and stuff like that get incinerated. So
continue on East 141st Street for 1 mile.
The whole thing just looks worse and worse and worse. And it takes a long time for that next set of people to try their hand at it, for those people to kind of come back around and maybe get a little bit more money back underneath them, to outweigh the selling pressures and all the just natural economic pressures that are going to occur in crypto and stuff. So with the FTX thing, it almost, again, seems very suspicious. These people were way too connected with the government. This thing was a catastrophe. And, once again, guys, I warned people to get their money off of there. And the day after that it collapsed, and I warned everybody two weeks before, if you guys have been following me. And then the other thing that I said was, what did I say? Like, that Binance then was getting, after the thing collapsed, I said, what was the next move? If you saw that video, it was like, get your funds off of Binance. Now you're seeing more and more and more people getting off of Binance. They're starting to become suspicious, because Binance was trying to become captain, save a platform. And it looks like the government, once again, the U.S. government, might be pressing charges.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Allisonville Road.
Pressing charges for Binance to, that for stuff that they did maybe back in 2018, 2019, 2020, of maybe not KYCing people, or
take the next left onto Allisonville Road.
US customers had access to it and stuff like that. So they're going to try to take out Binance and try to knock their teeth out. And this is all a ploy to crush the confidence of crypto, because at the end of the day, it's one of those things that's in this very precarious situation until they roll out the laws to, to capture some of the like tax benefits and stuff like that, and tighten the noose on crypto.
Continue on Allisonville Road for 5 miles.
It is a partial threat. It's like one of these things where it's like they're sort of straddling this line. It's a threat to these fiat currencies and these governments, because the people that understand it see the power of it and how it can't be completely controlled, but yet they don't want to lose completely out on that whole asset class, because they want to tax it. So they're going to try to get the laws in place to tighten the noose, and really, really, really pinpoint. And if you're not from the United States, for the last several years, there is a checkbox, for U.S. citizens who are filing their tax returns. Do you own any crypto? And that's been the last several years. So they're trying to make a list of all these people who own crypto, who aren't vaccinated, who aren't this, who aren't that, who have guns, all these things. They're making a list, and they're checking it twice. And, whatever that fallout ends up being has been yet to see. But we see what happened up in Canada. They were seizing people's bank accounts, freezing up their bank accounts if they were part of the trucker rally, if they were helping out protesters, you know, giving them food, stuff like that, locking their bank accounts up, taking their money, taking their freedoms, locking them up financially, you know. So we can see these kind of things happen in other parts of the world, and these are things that we have to worry about overall. But, you know, FTX was a huge honeypot. Everybody's information, all this KYC, their pictures, their IDs, all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to let these guys skate free. They're going to use it to give themselves a little more time to tighten the noose. Anyway, guys, what do you guys think of this video? Leave a comment below and follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, and Twitter, Hive, DTube, everywhere. See you guys.